Yeah.
Are you done testing?
I'm done testing. Hey, do
Okay.
you want to be in one of these test things?
Sure.
You gotta say something silly though.
Okay, something silly.
Yeah,
Did
it's
I do
good
it?
enough. Yeah, it's fine. That's great. Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three. Let's do a movie review. So, if you missed my last video essay, I am currently doing movie reviews from the My List portion of my favorite horror movie streaming service. You see, folks, when we last left Ophelia Crane's YouTube page, I explained that I have more movies on this list than I have been able to watch. So, as a way for me to actually get cracking on watching these movies, I'm going to make content, which I need to do anyway. So, and incidentally, I'm not naming the horror movie service for two reasons. Really, one, you probably already know which service it is, and two, they aren't paying me for the advertising yet. And until they do, I'm not really in the business of doing too many things for free, as I am at this time a poor. That being said, if you really want to know where to watch all these movies that I am referring to, Google, on the other hand, is still free, at least as of the time of this recording. But today's movie I'm pretty excited to talk about, because the one thing I'm always looking for in a horror movie is something special. As much as I love your garden variety hack and slashes, every time I run into a movie that's basically a flex in some way or another, I get a little happy inside. So without further ado, let's get on with this week's movie. The Nightshifter, or Morto Não Fala. It's a Brazilian horror film that came out in 2018. It's directed by Denison Ramalho, and it stars Daniel de Oliveira. And honestly, I was locked in as soon as I realized that this was going to be a Latin horror movie, because the last 10 years or so have been great for the subgenre of Latin horror in particular. And this one was just a lot of fun. So, okay, this is Stenio. Stenio is a loser, and that's not a disparagement. The film actually paints him in a very Shaun from Shaun of the Dead kind of way. He's a coroner working in a morgue, and he gets no respect for whatever reason. Like, the ambulance guys clown him when they drop off the bodies. His wife openly disrespects him at every given opportunities. One of his kids is a budding criminal, and he lives in the hood because he doesn't make that much money as a coroner. Like, his life isn't great. But Stenio has one very special talent going for him. He can talk to the dead.
Que hospital. Que finaria.
And like, as interesting as that sounds, this movie kind of deals with the actual reality that having the ability to talk to the dead and $7 in your pockets will get you a gallon of gas. And these days, you wouldn't even be able to get a bag of chips with that, too. But as crummy as Stenio's life sounds, he's pretty accepting of his place in life. I mean, yeah, his job kind of sucks and his wife hates him, but he loves his kids. And all in all, he's pretty content with his life as it stands. I mean, there are worse places to be, I guess, given where he's living. So around the neighborhood where Senor lives, there is a bakery. And in said bakery, you can go and not only get baked goods, but a drink, because that's what he does every so often. And usually when he does it, he runs a tab, and the guy owning the bakery, Jamie, is like, you gotta pay me. And he's like, nah, I'll pay you next time. I'll get you next time. Whatever. Jamie is the guy that owns the bakery, and he has a daughter named Laura and a wife who is dying from terminal cancer in the hospital. We get a little bit of conversation about that when Stenio goes to get a drink after work, and we find out that Jamie has already written off his dying wife, where Laura obviously has not. That is her mother. So, okay, now in Stenio's neighborhood, there happens to be a lot of gang violence. And because he's a coroner who talks to the dead, he usually gets all the hot goss from the dead gang members that come in from time to time. Now, before I go any further, I got to talk about the choice of special effects for the talking dead bodies. And I'm saying choice here because it is a choice. Like, this movie isn't that old. It's 2018. Like, CGI is very much a thing at the time that this film was made. But the filmmakers basically do something other than the weird uncanny valley thing that CGI tends to do. Do I look like I have any kind of cuddling room here, homie? What they do is they kind of superimpose a face over the body, and that may be CGI in a way. But the first time you see it, it looks considerably freaky, and you might even say it looks a little fake. But like I said before, I believe that this is a choice that the filmmakers have made. It's clearly intentional because the warped features remind the audience that this isn't just some person talking. This is someone who has left this plane of existence. And it also illustrates that this is the way that Senyo sees these people when they speak to him, particularly since no one else can hear them. So, during the day, Senyo has these little conversations with the dead as they come in to the coroner's office. Sometimes he has to tell them that they're dead. Sometimes he even has to call their families because they've said, hey, could you please call them because they don't know that I've been out. And sometimes they just shoot the shit. And then one day, a dead gangster comes through, as they tend to do. And they chat for a little bit, and the gangster very quickly realizes that Stenyo knows quite a bit about what's going on in the gangster world. Now, this gangster, Sujo, by the way, Sujo tells Stenyo that someone in their camp is a rat, and he knows who it is, and it was him that sold him out. So he asked Stenyo if he could go to his brother and tell him who the rat is so that he could exact some revenge for his death. And Stenyo at this time is like, nah, I can't do that. That's like gonna be bad juju on my head. I'm good on that. But Senjo begs him and even tries to appeal to some sense of justice by telling him a story about how he and his brother, when they were young, that they killed their father because their father was abusive to them and their mom. Senyo still says no, forget about it, and goes on with his life. So in the meantime, things go on pretty crappily. And then one day he comes home and his wife, Odette, has bought a whole new couch because she's been telling him that he stinks up their house. And she got rid of the couch because it smells so much like he does when he comes home from work. Now, they don't have the money for this, of course, but she's just like, whatever. I'm spending the money on the couch because you stink and you suck and you'll never be anything in life and you're scum. His son also is in trouble yet again at school. And when he tries to chastise him for it, he basically tells him to kiss his Brazilian ass. So the next day, another gangster comes through, and this one is a guy that Stenyo knew when he was alive. Well, he tells Stenyo that his wife has been giving it out like candy all over town, and that her current boo is Jamie, the baker. And Stenyo is hot about it. And that night he walks out right there, and he goes home, and while he is standing in the shadows, he sees his wife get into Jamie's car as they drive off on some illicit date. And now Stenyo wants revenge. He spends a little time sulking about it. He even goes to the bakery on some weird stalker shit. But he doesn't really do anything because it just so happens that the cops are there too when he goes. But he clearly is not happy, and he's not really about to let this go at all. And you would think that maybe nothing's going to come of it because Stenyo's just not the type of guy who goes around beating up dudes even if they are banging his wife. Except he remembers what Sujo told him, and that gives him an idea. And this is where Stenyo makes the decision to use his power for evil. Or actually, his wife is kind of a jerk, so maybe for a greater good in a sense. In any event, he goes to Sujo's brother, who, as I mentioned before, is a big-time gangster, and he tells him that he and Sujo are basically besties, and that before he died, he told him who was going to betray him. Now, right here, it should be noted that the actual rat that got Sujo killed is standing within arm's length of our hero of this story, sweating. He's sure he's about to get sold out. Luckily for him, Stenyo has other plans. He tells a lead gang member that Sujo was killed by Jamie, and he tells him that if he's looking to get revenge, that's where he needs to go. Now, here's the thing about Stenyo doing this. Seeking revenge on the guy that's banging your wife by divulging information you got from a dead guy is one thing. Arguably kind of a forgivable thing even in this context. But at this point in the movie, it's probable that everything else that happens for the rest of the film might have gone a different way, as long as Stenyo doesn't seal the deal by telling Sujo's secret. You see, Sujo's brother doesn't initially believe that Jamie is responsible for his brother's death. In fact, he's pretty sure that Stenyo is just lying through his teeth about even knowing Sujo. So Stenyo has a choice. He can either give up on this whole thing or tell him the one thing that will convince him that he was close enough to Sujo that he might confide in him. And that is exactly what he does. He tells Sujo's secret about the two of them killing their abusive father. And that's a big deal because the only person who even knows about that is Sujo's brother. And it's enough to convince him that Stenyo is telling the truth. And with that, Sujo's brother is on board with killing Jamie. And Stenyo walks away and goes to work thinking that all of his problems are solved. But alas, if only that were true. So while Stenyo is at work, Odette is getting dropped off by Jamie. And he tells her, hey, look, all of this has been fun and everything, but it's not right. You're married, you got kids. I don't think I want to do this anymore. And Odette doesn't want that. She feels like she's going nowhere with Stenyo, and Jamie is her one ticket out of the misery that she's been in. But as it happens, Jamie's a halfway decent guy, and he doesn't feel right about sneaking around. Too bad for him that it's too little too late, because the very next thing that happens is that Jamie gets jumped by gangsters. He gets yanked out of the car by Sujo's brother and all of his people. They surround him, they pull him out, and Now, Odette, witnessing all this, is understandably upset and starts screaming that she's going to call the police and that they're going to pay for what they've done, and all the while not really hearing them when they tell her, yo, kick rocks, because she was never the target in the first place. But she's making such a fuss that it becomes clear that she's got to eat pavement too. And so they take care of her as well. Now, all this goes down in the middle of the night. So by the time Stenyo gets home, he finds that there are police surrounding his house. There's police tape. The bodies are still in the street. And he's kind of shocked to see that Jamie is dead, but also his wife. See, he was pissed at Odette, but he never actually wanted her dead. So, oops. Anyway, he, of course, is the one that ends up looking over her body when she arrives at the morgue. And when she does, he basically tells her that he knew all about the affair and that he's the reason she's dead. And he gloats a little about it. And to add insult to injury, he puts her wedding ring back on her finger in order to be buried with it. Fast forward to sometime later, he's busy at work preparing another body for a burial, and he tries striking up a conversation with that body, as is his normal habit. But the body is pretty pissed at him. When he asks what the deal is, the body tells him that he is now cursed. See that whole thing that he is worried about when Sujo first told him the secret in the first place about bad juju? Well, what Stenyo didn't realize is that that's actually a thing, like a big thing, like an all points bulletin, all hands on deck kind of thing. Yeah, Stenyo is about to learn real fast why you don't tell dead men secrets. And very quickly after that, he and his children become subjected to a host of all kinds of weird hauntings that get increasingly more disturbing and more dangerous to all of them. And I'm talking doors opening and vacuums coming on in the middle of the night, and they just get kind of progressively worse as time is going on. And his kids, in particular, are freaked the fuck out. Enter Laura, Jamie's daughter. At some point, she comes to visit and offers to help as a decent person would do, since he's a widow and everything. And she ends up staying with the kids while he's at work, because the kids are staying alone, by the way, while he goes to work. The boy is maybe a tween, old enough. They're both pretty much old enough to stay on their own. All the while, things are getting weirder and weirder around the house and with Stenyo. And pretty soon, the ghost haunting him reveals himself as Odette through an appearance of the ring that he knows he buried. Obviously, he throws it away. He chucks it as far as he can. But that doesn't really stop Odette. She's pissed, and she's looking for revenge any way she can get it. And that includes endangering their children, which, by the way, she is dead serious about. At a certain point, she uses an oven to try to swallow her youngest child. Now Laura, on the other hand, she's trying to cope with all this. I mean, she peeps what's up pretty early on, as she's pretty religious and pretty kind of connected to the spirit world, as it were. And she has a clear understanding that whatever is happening, there are demonic forces at play here. Unfortunately, she's not a whole lot of help because Stenyo doesn't really want to tell her what he did that got him in this mess in the first place. But things get a whole lot worse when Odette's spirit appears to Stenyo and gives him a directive. If he wants her to leave him alone, then he's got to kill Laura. Otherwise, she's taking everybody back to hell with her. Somewhere in all this, Stenyo ends up talking to Laura's mother. Now, Laura's mother, who has terminal cancer, unfortunately passes away during the course of all of this madness. Laura goes to the hospital to take care of the arrangements, and while she's there, Stenyo, of course, comes with her as, moral support. But while they're there, Stenyo communicates with the mom. And the mom, well, at first she reams him out a little bit for even getting himself in the situation and being so close to her daughter. But she does give him valuable information. She tells him that she's got to get all of Odette's shit, all of her shit, and burn it up. So that's what he does. Every single thing, every shred of clothing, every piece of jewelry, everything that Odette owns, he takes it out to the backyard and he burns it in a big bonfire. And that seems to do the trick, except, okay, see, way back when Odette's ring came back to him and he threw it away, his daughter saw that he did that. And being just a little girl who just lost her mom, she does what I think any little girl would do. One night she goes out and she looks for the ring and she finds it. And so she keeps it and doesn't tell anybody she has it. Now Laura, who's watching the kids at night, happens to find the ring, which is not good. You see, because by the time Stenyo gets home from work, he finds that she has been possessed by Odette's evil spirit. And she straight up tries to kill him. Like, they buck all the way through the house until finally Stenyo gets the ring off her finger. And then, okay, well, Laura snaps back to herself, which, great. And at this point, they're all in the basement. Her and the kids and him, and everybody's crying, and everybody's bleeding, and it's all bad. And Odette's spirit appears to Stenyo and tells him she's never going to leave him alone. Like, this is eternity. She's just, I'm just going to torture you and this family forever. And in that moment, Stenyo makes a decision. A really important one. He decides to leave. I mean, at the end of the day, it's him that she really wants. And she can't stick around the house and the kids and Laura if he takes the ring with him when he goes. So, yeah, that's what he does. Stenyo leaves, and the final scene is pretty chilling. It's just him walking down the middle of the street late at night, away from his life and his children and everything he knows, with the ghosts of Odette, Jamie, Sujo's brother, everyone that got caught up in the shitstorm that he started. They all follow him as he walks off into the night. And that's how it ends. Roll credits. Now, if you are the type of person that prefers happy endings to your movies, I mean, first of all, why are you even watching horror movies in the first place? Personally, I don't think that Stenyo had too many other choices here. Storytelling wise, I think that as all of the options he could have had goes, it was a pretty logical one. And in deciding to take the spirit of his wife with him, he takes accountability for his actions. The one thing that he kind of avoids for the entire movie. So yeah, for me, the ending might have been tragic, but it was satisfying. Overall, would recommend the others. 10 out of 10. So that's this week's video essay. Thank you so much for listening to me rant for a little bit. I post every 2 weeks, so make sure you hit that subscriber button so you'll be the first to see my next post. With that said, see you next time. Bye.